What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today, I am reviewing the final Underworld movie. But before I get to that, tomorrow in the morning, either in the morning or sometime during the day, I am going to do a rant about how they're doing She-Hulk. And I'll do another video maybe sometime next week going in on how they're doing the Hulk specifically again, but I'm going to talk specifically about She-Hulk because honestly, she's such a good character. And it's like, fuck, they're fucking her. Yeah, I'll admit I'm not fully watching the show, but I've seen clips and I've seen enough people talk about it that I have gathered what's going on. She's just another modern female character. And that's the sad part of it all. You took a great character, and I'll go into more on that tomorrow. But besides that, today, like I mentioned, Underworld Blood Wars. This one I remember watching when it came out because I liked all the Underworld movies. And I was like, oh, Celine's back. We're continuing the story. And I really loved the last one. And I remember watching this one and I was kind of like, okay, that was decent. I kind of still have the same rating I had then, about a 7. After the 2 times I watched it, and then I just kind of never watched it again. Because when I watched those movies, I kind of just watched the first one, and then maybe Awakening again. I think I watched the first one again after, and then, Awakening. But I didn't watch them in order again until recently. But Blood Wars, I remember when this came out, I do like the whole aspect. Yeah, vampires basically almost on pretty much extinction. The Lycans are basically taken over, which that was cool. The only things I don't really like, they do mention her daughter, but it just, they kind of gloss over it a little bit. And then she shows up in the end, and I understand they were probably setting something up for the next one, which I don't know when that's supposed to be happening, because this film was, 2017 when this came out, and that's, 5 years ago. That was a while ago. But I really, overall, I would say I like it. I think the only thing, I'm not a fan of Marius as a villain. I think he was kind of weak as one of the main Lycan leaders. They should have made Samira the leader of one of the leaders of the Vampire Coven. She should have been the leader, the villain, or at least the main one, because she felt more evil to me. She had something about her. Marius was just kind of boring. He felt like, let's just do Lucian again, but without the charisma. And then we already did the big Lycan in the last film. Why are we doing that again? It's like, oh, let's do granted, he wasn't as big, but let's do the big Lycan again, essentially. It's like, come on. Really? It was a little, especially rewatching, granted, maybe this is more of the recency I've been watching it. Watching the scene where she was fighting Celine, I'm like, why is Celine getting beat up by this guy? She beat up, granted, it did take a lot, but she beat the big-ass Lycan in the last film. I felt like you should have swapped the fight. It should have been David fighting Marius, and you have Samira fighting Celine. It would have made more sense. And then at least in that sense, maybe they could give a reason why Samira maybe is a bit stronger than her. You could have done, it would have made more sense for the fight. It just didn't make sense to me to have the villain. Aside from the villain, it was a fine movie. It was cool seeing Celine again. The speed power she gets a little bit later, I think that was a bit over the top. That was like, okay. It's like, I love episode 1 of Star Wars, when I was a Star Wars person. But when the Jedi have the Jedi run, it was the same thing to me. It was like, okay, it's a little, come on now. It's a little over the top. But aside from that, I love the cinematography. They're because a lot of it's in the snow, or in the cold. So you got some just cool shots of the sky and stuff. Some of the action is probably my favorite action in the movie, entire series. And the way they tie it all together was cool. And it was cool seeing David again, and Charles Dance coming back as Thomas was cool. And the fact in this one, Thomas like redeems himself from the last one. He's like standing up for Celine when they brought her to the coven because he's grateful that he saved her son. He saved his son. Sorry, he saved his son. So that was cool. Like I think overall, in general, I still like this movie. I do think it's probably the weakest of the main movies, but it still doesn't mean it's a bad one. I definitely recommend it. I would say it's watchable. Some of that, just alone, some of the action sequences alone. So, um, but as usual, I'm gonna get started here. I would probably give this one like a 7. I think it's a good movie. It's just not as strong as some of the other entries in the franchise. So the movie opens up basically with Celine. We kind of get a little, like the usual. You get a little bit of like the backstory, like what happened up to this point, in that a lot of the vampires are almost about to be annihilated by the lichens. And we see a group of lichens basically chase Celine because they need her blood. And some of the vampires do want to get Celine because they still are mad about Victor, and the lichens need her daughter's blood because how powerful her blood is. So we get a scene where Celine gets chased by some lichens. So we get cool, like, I love that these movies always, you get at least a cool action sequence in the beginning. So yeah, she takes out a group of lichens. Then Samira, she's the head of one of the Eastern Coven. Her and Thomas plead to get Celine's help because they want her to basically train. And I'm gonna spoil it. I think the only thing I didn't really like watching it again, and then maybe it's more I just thought of this because they wanted her to like train a group of vampires. I kind of like the idea of that, and then they just kind of abandoned that quickly because they wanted. I get it. They want to have Samira fuck her over. They're mad about Victor. I get it, but it's just. I actually like that idea. That was actually kind of an interesting idea. I think or maybe at least let's explore it longer before she fucks them over. That's where I would have had her be the main villain secretly, because Marius to me just didn't cut it. He didn't stand out. He was another long-haired Lycan guy, and it was like Lucian did it better. Just didn't do it for me. I mean, like I said, it was some cool fights with him. Anyway, so they asked for Celine's help. Before that, yeah, I mentioned David helps her take down the Lycans. So it was cool seeing him again. I thought he was probably one of my favorite parts of the fourth film. So he and her come back. She asks them. Samira asks Celine to train alongside. I don't remember what the dude's name was that was with her. Oh, Varga, who basically he was with her, asked her, she asked him to train them, and so they kind of get started here, and I actually like this idea. So Varga suggests let's do a combat where, you know, where they could train her, and Celine initially takes him down easily, but then he poisons her, and it actually turns out they want revenge for. Uh, so he poisons Celine, and then along with Samira, they slaughter the rest of the trainees. Basically, they're trying to frame Celine as the one who did it. And but then, while this happens, David and Thomas help her escape. Well, Thomas kind of gives himself a sacrifice, which I thought it was cool seeing Thomas Charles Dance, who my always will always mention, great character actor. So it was cool seeing him again, and actually to see him get like a little bit of redemption arc, standing up for Celine and saying how powerful she is and trying to help her escape and his son. And he even goes out a bit of fighting. Granted, the fight was pretty short, and yeah, his father dies, and she gets killed by both Samira and Varga. Um, they then go to the Nordic Coven, David and Celine, because his mother, um, this is where we basically find out that David's a legit heir to the Eastern Coven. Like he's like the real one in charge, which that was kind of cool. Get a little bit of his backstory there. Um, so Alexia, who's one of the death dealers, I guess, is her and Marius have a thing. It's just Marius has no presence. That's why I really in this review I'm not talking about him a lot because he to me he just doesn't he didn't have it for me. It was unfortunate, and I get it. You needed to have that Lycan element, and I get it. Lucian died, so you can't bring him back because he died in the first one. You can't. He's dead. But I would have maybe you could have got a better actor. I don't know. It just the dude didn't do it for me. He had zero presence. That's why I was like, just should have just made Samira the bad guy because to me she had way more presence, and her and Varga that could have been like the two. I don't know, but she tells Marius that where the Nordic Coven is. So this is where we get a cool little battle scene where the Lycans invade. Um, we meet Lena, who is Vidar's daughter. Get a cool fight scene. I think this is where Celine initially dies because she gets stabbed by Alexia and Marius. Because Marius wants to know Eve's location, but she doesn't tell him, and then she drowns under broken ice. And this is where seemingly she dies. And honestly, she's not as I thought she was gone longer than she was, but she wasn't gone that long in the movie. And I thought David did enough to carry the film for a bit. So Samira gets information from Alexia before she kills her because she knew about the affair. And then David goes to the Eastern Coven, which I thought this was a pretty good scene where he, says he's the right heir to the throne and basically reveals that she's the one who turned on everybody. And yeah, so she gets arrested for a second. And yeah, Varga turns on her. And then Marius and his people attack. We get a big battle scene. Basically down to the brim. Like pretty much Marius and his people show up, and then Celine comes back, now more powerful. It was cool seeing Kate Beckinsale again. It's always cool seeing her. I mean, for obvious reasons. Back, but I thought it was the only thing. Oh, they gave her her appearance is a bit more Nordic now. Like she has like the white highlights on. It actually looks really good. So the Nordic Coven join the fight. We get a longer battle. She takes out a lot of the Lycans. I get they wanted to enhance her speed a bit, but I think it was a bit ridiculous. It was almost like, not the Flash, but like more like Quicksilver at times. Like she was like zipping. It was a little like, okay, that's a little too fast, where it's almost like over the top. Because she fights Marius while Samira fights David. It should have been the opposite. didn't really, and then Marius shows her that because she, gets in that same cage she fought Varga earlier in the film. She asks, "Where is Michael?" And he shows her that this is what's left of him. It's like this, like it was like a vial of blood. So basically, he's just. I don't like that. Basically, it's Marius killed him to get more. Yeah, I just don't really like that you kill Michael off screen. I think that's a character. If you're gonna kill him, he should have been in this movie. I don't know if they couldn't get the actor or whatever. Maybe they just didn't want to recast, or maybe they were trying to tell a bigger story. But it's like it's been 5 years though, so I don't even know if we're gonna ever get a sequel now because I haven't even heard anything about an Underworld sequel in a long ass time. It's already been like 5 years since this film came out. It actually longer because looking on here, it came out in like 2016 for international audience, but for America it was 2017. So even longer in some audiences. So 5 to 6 years old. Like, come on. That's why I'm not a fan of them killing him. If granted, I get it. I don't know if maybe this didn't make as much money as planned, and maybe that's why they didn't want to do a sequel. It's just because it didn't make a lot of money, or I was gonna say that. Sorry, guys. Kate Beckinsale didn't want to come back. I don't know what it is, but anyway. But so after that, Celine ends up killing him by pulling his spine out, which was pretty brutal. She then, while David kills Samir, a pretty decent fight. Um, the Lycans retreat, while Celine and David and Lean are named the new elders. And we see Eve, her daughter, for like a quick second in the end, and then it's like definitely setting up another film. But yeah, that was Underworld Blood Wars. Sorry, guys. I liked it. I think it was a fun one. It has some issues. I think Marius should not have been the main villain, and they were pulling him. They were definitely the way the movie is. He was main. They set him up as the main. It should have been Samira. I think she had far more charisma, and it sucks she didn't have as much scenes as I wanted her to. I wanted her to have wanted her to have a confrontation with Celine. Like she was even one like initially, yeah, she was pushing for her, but it was just to set her up. I don't know. Marius just didn't do it for me. But, Kate Beckinsale is always great. Theo James as David was pretty good. I thought it was cool seeing him again because he was awesome in the last film. So, and some of the action set pieces were great. Some of the cinematography was good. So I still say it's definitely a solid entry in the franchise. I don't know if we're ever going to get another film because it's been like 5 years officially, even though internationally it's been 6. So it's been a while since this film has been out. So I don't know if we're ever going to get another one. I would love it, Granted, I would probably want it to be the last one just so we can wrap it up. Just because potentially, I don't know if it's not the last one, then what are we going to wait another 5 to 6 years for another one? So they need to wrap it up if they're going to do another one. I'm open to it. I enjoyed this one for what it is. So, but yeah, guys, this one was solid. I would recommend it. It's not a bad one. It's one of the better examples of a continuation, a modern, because it was 2017 when this came out. Continuation. God damn it. Sorry, guys. So 7 out of 10. Score was decent, decent action, fun movie. It did what it's supposed to do. But as usual, tomorrow I am gonna be doing. It will be sometime in the morning or like at least during the day. If not, it will be latest. Will be like super late at night, but we'll see. I am gonna be going in on how they're handling She-Hulk in the She-Hulk show because it's sad. Because I think she's such a good character. She's one that should have been done. If you wanted to have like female kick off the MCU solo thing, she should have been the one. She makes the most sense. Audiences know her. She's a charismatic character. Yeah, she's derivative in extent, but she's also not in the sense she's not. Her whole thing is she's not the opposite of the Hulk. She embraces her Hulkness in a way. So it would have been cool to see that, but no, she's just another modern, strong whammon Mary Sue type. So I'm gonna go in on that tomorrow. But watch Underworld Blood Wars or just Underworld in general. If you want a movie, you want a series of movies about a legit strong female character that isn't just a feminist mouthpiece, it's just a badass vampire chick and Celine. Watch the Underworld movies. They're fun, awesome cinematography. Not just cinematography, just aesthetic in general. The way they took the classic werewolf versus vampire story and made it their own and given its own lore. It's like the fact that these movies have spawned 5 movies and has like a bunch of lore is crazy. But it just shows you can do strong women. I just don't understand why Hollywood continues to give us. And this film was only 5 years ago, but then now we're getting shit like She-Hulk, and now you're ruining a legit great character. So I'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah. Like normal, I'm gonna peace out here. Yeah. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck the Biden administration. Peace.